On a cool October night in 1993, beneath the neon glow of Los Angeles' Sunset Strip, a young man collapsed outside a nightclub and began convulsing on the sidewalk. It wasn't the kind of tragedy that happens behind closed doors. It happened in public, under streetlights, with strangers staring and panic spreading like fire. His younger brother called emergency services.
Sorry, it's my brother. Please come here. How old is he? He's 23. So there's no one else around.
His sister begged for help, and the scene became a nightmare you can't unsee once you've imagined it. River Phoenix was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but resuscitation efforts failed. He was pronounced dead at 1:51 a.m. on October 31, 1993. He was 23 years old. Toxicology later found he had lethal levels tied to a multi-drug intoxication, with cocaine and opiates among the substances present. The reason River's death still hits like a punch decades later is simple. He wasn't just a famous young actor who died young. River Phoenix felt like a rare kind of human being, the kind people project their best hopes onto. The good one, the sensitive one, the conscience, the one who looked like he belonged to the future. And then, suddenly, he didn't. That's why the story lingers, not because it's shocking, but because it feels wrong. And if you want the weight of that wrongness to make sense, you have to go back to the beginning, long before the red carpets, long before the label of icon, back to a childhood that made him older than his age. River Jude Phoenix was born on August 23, 1970 in Madras, Oregon, the first of 5 children. His parents named him River after the river of life in Herman Hesse's Siddhartha, and gave him the middle name Jude from the Beatles' Hey Jude. Even his name sounded like a prophecy, like someone trying to set a child on a path towards meaning. He grew up in a family that moved constantly, shaped by idealism and hardship, and spent years outside the normal American rhythm of school and stability. The Phoenix children didn't just have a rough childhood, they lived one. There were years when the family was in South America. River and his sister Rain performed on the street for money, trying to help feed the family. When you grow up like that, you learn early that talent isn't just art, it's survival. In 1977, the family left a religious group they'd been involved with and eventually returned to the United States, adopting the surname Phoenix, a symbol of rising from the ashes. It wasn't a cute rebrand, it was a survival statement. They ended up in California, living with very little, and the kids performed wherever they could. A talent agent noticed them and helped open the door into entertainment work. For River, that door didn't just open, it blew off its hinges. Because on screen, he had something that doesn't come from acting classes. He had a quiet intensity that felt lived in, like he'd already met adulthood and didn't like it. By the mid-1980s, River Phoenix went from a kid scraping by to a teenage actor rapidly becoming the emotional center of major films. In 1986, at about 15, he broke through with Stand By Me, playing Chris Chambers, the tough kid with a wounded soul. Rivers didn't play cool. He played pain, responsibility, and the longing to be seen as more than your worst moment. And that's why people remembered him. Not because he was handsome, though he was, not because he was famous, though he became that too, but because he made audiences feel like they were watching someone real, someone who didn't need to shout to be heard. 2 years later, he proved it wasn't a one-off. In 1988, Rivers starred in Sidney Lumet's Running on Empty as Danny Pope, a teenager caught between the life his parents forced on him and the life he wanted for himself. That performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, one of the youngest nominees in the category. He was still basically a kid, standing in the same world as grown men with decades of work behind them. And he didn't look out of place. That nomination didn't just crown him as promising, it marked him as inevitable. But here's what makes Rivers' story different from the usual child star made it big arc. He didn't move like someone chasing celebrities. He moved like someone trying to outrun it. People around him talked about how uncomfortable he could be with the machinery of fame, the way it turns people into products and moments into headlines. And while Hollywood tried to package him as a perfect symbol, River kept trying to stay human. That tension matters because it's the pressure line running under everything that comes later. In 1991, River took the role that cemented his legend, My Own Private Idaho, directed by Gus Van Sant. He played Mike Waters, a street hustler searching for love and some kind of home, layered with vulnerability and rawness that felt like it came from somewhere deep. The film became a defining work of early 90s independent cinema, and River's performance was celebrated internationally, including at Venice. At that point, the future felt wide open. He'd already done mainstream success, serious drama, and bold indie work. The usual next step would have been the slow climb into great actor of a generation. For River, it felt like he was already there, just waiting to age into it. Off screen, he wasn't just an actor, he was a musician, and music seemed like the place he could breathe. In 1987, he formed a band called Lekka's Attic with his sister Rain. The name itself sounded like a hidden room, a private corner in a loud world. The band didn't become a massive commercial thing during his lifetime, but it mattered to him. It wasn't a celebrity band gimmick, it was an identity he could control. Lekka's Attic recorded songs and performed, and River kept writing. Later, he wrote and performed music connected to the thing called love, including Lone Star State of Mind, revealing that even while Hollywood watched him as an actor, part of him was still that kid with a guitar trying to carve out a space that felt real. River also carried a reputation for activism and compassion. He was known as a committed animal rights and environmental advocate, and he was famously vegan from a very young age. Whether you agree with every detail of someone's ideology isn't the point. The point is that River didn't treat activism like branding. He treated it like obligation. He believed fame should mean responsibility, not indulgence. And that good one aura, the sense that he was different, is exactly why the ending is so brutal. Because when someone like that dies in a way that looks ugly, chaotic, and public, it feels like the world is insulting them on the way out. If you want a human core to the story, look at the Phoenix family. River was the oldest of the siblings people know today. Rain, Joaquin, Liberty, and Summer. The family's closeness wasn't a cute Hollywood trivia fact. It was forged through instability and survival. River wasn't just a brother, he was a guidepost. And that's a detail that feels almost supernatural in hindsight. Joaquin later recalled that River pushed him, insisted he continue acting, and even told him he'd be more famous than River one day. Whether or not anyone could have predicted where Joaquin's career could go, the emotional truth is clear. River built his siblings up. He wasn't a star who treated family like accessories, he treated them like the point. Then comes the night that freezes the whole story in one horrible frame. October 30, 1993, into the early hours of October 31. River went to the Viper Room on Sunset Boulevard. At some point, he became ill. He ended up outside, collapsing and seizing on the sidewalk. Emergency responders took him to the hospital, and he was pronounced dead at 1:51 a.m. The official finding was acute multiple drug intoxication, with lethal levels reported. Later reporting also described toxicology showing lethal levels consistent with cocaine and opiates, among other substances. The word overdose gets used like a lazy label, but what it really means here is that the body simply couldn't carry the load anymore. And the cruelest detail is that this wasn't just a death, it was a death his family had to witness in real time, with no movie cut, no fade out, no mercy. Afterward, grief spilled into the street. People gathered, left flowers, candles, letters. The kind of mourning that only happens when the public feels like they lost something personal. And in a way, they did. River Phoenix wasn't just a performer, he was a symbol of a certain kind of youth, sensitive, principled, and terrifyingly gifted. His death didn't just take a person, it took an entire future people had already started imagining. Decades later, the echo is still there. One of the most haunting examples came in 2020 when Joaquin Phoenix won the Best Actor at the Academy Awards and ended his speech with a line from a song River wrote as a teenager.
He said, "Run to the rescue with love and peace will follow."
Joaquin
Thank you.
didn't quote him like a celebrity anecdote. He quoted him like scripture, like a brother still speaking. That one moment snapped the world back into the truth behind the myth. River Phoenix was not an idea. He was someone deeply loved, someone whose words still live in the mouths of the people who survived him. And maybe that's the real reason this story works. Even now, even for people who weren't there in 1993, because it isn't just about fame or talent or tragedy. It's about the unbearable gap between what someone was becoming and what the world allowed them to be. River Phoenix had already proven he could carry a film, carry an audience, carry an era's emotion without looking like he was trying. He had music in his hands, conviction in his voice, and a softness that somehow survived a childhood that should have hardened him. And then, in the most public way imaginable, the story ended anyway. So when people ask what we lost, the answer isn't just a great actor. It's something quieter and worse. We lost the chance to see what happens when a rash soul gets time. Because River Phoenix didn't just burn bright, he was cut off mid-sentence, and the world has been filling in the ending ever since. If you believe in honoring the past with accuracy and respect, we invite you to subscribe to Echoed and help us keep these essential stories alive for the next generation.